Have you ever wondered why some people seem unstoppable, always 2 steps ahead, always winning, no matter the challenge? It's not luck. It's not even talent alone. It's the ability to outthink, outwork, and outsmart the competition. In a world where everyone wants success, only a few truly stay on top. Today, I'm going to share 10 powerful keys that will keep you ahead of the game. Have you ever wondered why some people seem unstoppable, always 2 steps ahead, always winning, no matter the challenge? It's not luck. It's not even talent alone. It's the ability to outthink, outwork, and outsmart the competition. In a world where everyone wants success, only a few truly stay on top. Today, I'm going to share 10 powerful keys that will keep you ahead of the game. 1. Master your mindset. Every battle starts in the mind. If you control your thoughts, you control your outcomes. 2. Build relentless discipline. Motivation fades. Discipline ensures you show up even when you don't feel like it. 3. Embrace lifelong learning. Leaders are learners. The moment you stop learning, you stop growing. 4. Think 2 moves ahead. Don't just react. Anticipate. Winners plan beyond the present moment. 5. Outwork everyone in silence. Effort behind the scenes always shines when the lights turn on. 6. Adapt faster than the rest. Change is the only constant. Those who adapt quickly never fall behind. 7. Turn setbacks into setups. Failures are lessons. Each setback can be fuel for a stronger comeback. 8. Protect your circle. The people around you shape your energy, focus, and results. 9. Stay humble. Stay hungry. Pride stops growth. Hunger keeps you climbing. 10. Execute without excuses. Ideas mean nothing without action. Execution is what separates dreamers from doers. When you step out into the world, the first thing you realize is that every single thing you go after starts with how you think. The game of life isn't about muscles, money, or even connections at the beginning. It's about what's happening in your mind when no one else is looking. That's the foundation. If your mind is scattered, fearful, or locked in limitations, you're already beaten before you even take the first step. But if your mind is sharp, steady, and focused on what you believe you deserve, the world starts to move in ways that line up with your vision. People like to talk about luck. They say, oh, he got lucky, or she was at the right place at the right time. But the truth is, you don't attract luck. You attract preparation, meeting opportunity. And preparation starts with mindset. There's a saying, as a man thinketh, so is he. That means your outer life is nothing but a mirror of your inner life. If your thoughts are small, your life will stay small. If your thoughts are big and bold, the world will eventually have to adjust to fit your vision. But mindset isn't just about positivity. It's not about waking up and saying, I believe in myself, and then going back to sleep. It's about discipline in your thinking. You have to train your thoughts the same way an athlete trains his body. You got to catch yourself when negativity starts creeping in. When doubts whisper, you can't do this. Because if you listen too long, you'll start believing it. And the moment you believe it, you're done. The game's over before it starts. Let me give you a quick story. There was once a young man who grew up in a rough neighborhood. Every day he saw violence, poverty, and struggle all around him. Most of his friends accepted that as their future. They said, this is just the way it is. We'll never make it out. But this one young man, he made a decision. He said, I'm going to think different. He spent hours every night reading, learning, planning, while everyone else was outside wasting time. He trained his mind to believe he was bigger than his surroundings. Years later, while most of his friends were stuck in the same cycle, he had built businesses, traveled the world, and created opportunities for others. What was the difference? Not talent, not luck, just mindset. He saw something in his head before the world could see it. Your mindset has to be rooted in clarity. You need to know exactly what you want and why you want it. Without clarity, you'll chase everything and catch nothing. It's like trying to hit a target blindfolded. You might swing all day, but you'll never connect. So the first step in mastering your mindset is defining your vision. What's the life you see for yourself? What's the legacy you want to leave behind? Once you lock that in, every decision becomes easier because now you're filtering life through a bigger picture. Another key to mindset is resilience. Life is going to test you. It's going to throw obstacles, losses, betrayals, and failures your way. That's guaranteed. The difference between people who rise and those who fall is not whether they fail, it's how they respond. Some people let failure define them. Others use it as fuel. Think about a boxer. Every punch he takes in the ring isn't the end, it's a lesson. He studies it, adjusts his stance, and comes back smarter. That's how you got to treat setbacks. Not as defeat, but as feedback. Now let's talk about the second key, discipline. Discipline is the bridge between mindset and reality. You can think all the powerful thoughts in the world. You can have a vision as big as the sky, but without discipline, it stays a dream. Discipline is showing up on the days you don't feel like it. Discipline is keeping your word to yourself when nobody else is watching. Motivation will spark you, but discipline is what keeps the fire burning when the spark fades. Here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're inconsistent. They work hard for a week, a month, maybe even a year, but then they slow down, get distracted, or let comfort creep in. Discipline means you don't slow down. You don't negotiate with yourself. If you said you were going to do it, you do it. Period, no excuses. There's a famous story about a samurai warrior. He trained every day, rain or shine, without fail. One of his students asked him, "Master, how do you find the strength to practice when you're tired or sick?" The samurai replied, "Because I don't practice for the days I feel strong. I practice for the days I feel weak." That's discipline. It's not about how you feel. It's about what you promised yourself. Discipline is also about structure. You can't expect results if your life is chaos. Winners don't just work hard. They work smart. They set routines. They set boundaries. They prioritize. They know when to say yes and when to say no. If you want to be on top, you have to protect your time like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Time wasted is opportunity wasted. Discipline in your schedule is discipline in your future. Another layer of discipline is sacrifice. You can't have everything at once. Sometimes you have to give up short-term pleasure for long-term gain. That might mean skipping parties to work on your craft, waking up early when everyone else is sleeping, or investing money into your growth instead of spending it on instant gratification. Sacrifice is uncomfortable, but it's the price you pay for success. And the crazy thing is, once you build that habit, sacrifice no longer feels like loss. It feels like investment. Let me share this. There was an artist who wanted to make it big. He had talent, but so did a million others. The difference was, while his peers were out enjoying the nightlife, he was in the studio recording, perfecting his sound. He sacrificed years of fun for the grind. At first, people laughed, said he was wasting his youth. But years later, when he blew up, the same people were asking him for opportunities. That's the payoff of discipline. Mindset and discipline feed each other. The stronger your mindset, the easier it is to stay disciplined. The more disciplined you are, the stronger your mindset becomes. It's a cycle that builds momentum. Once you get it rolling, it becomes a lifestyle. Success is not one big moment. It's the accumulation of small disciplined actions repeated daily until the results can't be ignored. Think about this. The tallest trees in the forest didn't grow overnight. They grew little by little, day after day, year after year, pushing through storms, droughts, and seasons of struggle. But because they were consistent, they reached heights others couldn't. That's what mindset and discipline do for you. They turn your daily grind into greatness. You have to treat your goals like life or death. That may sound extreme, but if you treat your dreams casually, you'll end up with casual results. When your mind is locked and your discipline is unshakable, you start moving differently. You're no longer distracted by what others are doing because you know where you're headed. You stop competing with people because you realize the only competition is who you were yesterday. So here's the message: is your mindset is the engine. Your discipline is the fuel. One without the other won't move you forward. Together they make you unstoppable. You can outthink any obstacle and you can outwork any competitor. That combination is rare, and when you master, you don't just stay on top, you define the top. Knowledge is one of the sharpest weapons you can carry. A lot of people think the game is about strength, luck, or even connections. But the truth is, knowledge flips the odds every time. When you know better, you move better. When you learn more, you see options and doors that others don't even recognize exist. That's why you can't treat learning like something you finish when school ends. Learning is a lifetime mission. It's not about classrooms, it's about curiosity, it's about growth. It's about staying hungry for wisdom in every season of your life. There's a quote that says, "A mind stretched by new experiences never returns to its old dimensions." Once you expose yourself to new knowledge, you can't shrink back into the same mindset. That's why some people never grow. They stay in the same environment with the same voices, hearing the same stories, and they never stretch their minds. If you want to elevate, you have to constantly feed your mind the right things. Books, conversations, mentors, travel, failures. All of these are classrooms if you pay attention. Think about a hustler who starts with nothing. At first, maybe all he knows is survival. But as he learns how money works, how business operates, how leadership inspires, he stops surviving and starts thriving. His whole path changes, not because someone handed him a gift, but because he made it his duty to keep learning. That's how powerful knowledge is. It's not just about getting smarter, it's about expanding your choices. A limited mind leads to limited moves. A trained mind can flip a problem into an opportunity. But here's the thing about lifelong learning. You have to drop your ego. Too many people stop growing because they think they know it all. They confuse experience with wisdom. Just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean you've been doing it right. And just because you've seen success once doesn't mean the same formula will work forever. The world changes. The rules evolve. If you're not learning, you're falling behind, even if you don't notice it yet. There was a story of a chess player who was unbeatable in his neighborhood. Everyone looked up to him, said he was the best. But then one day he entered a regional tournament and he got destroyed. Not because he wasn't good, but because he thought he knew enough. He never studied the game beyond what he saw around him. He didn't learn new strategies, didn't challenge himself against stronger players. His ego blocked his growth. That's the danger of comfort. You start believing the level you're on is the ceiling, when in reality it's just the floor. Learning doesn't always feel comfortable either. Sometimes it means unlearning what you thought was true. Sometimes it means being a beginner again. A lot of people avoid learning because it makes them feel small, but being small for a while is the only way to grow bigger. Remember, a tree doesn't start as a giant, it starts as a seed. You have to embrace being that seed, because that's the path to becoming something massive. Now let's connect this to strategy. Learning feeds strategy, which brings us to thinking 2 moves ahead. Life is like chess, not checkers. Too many people live in reaction mode. They just respond to whatever happens today without planning for tomorrow. But those who rise to the top think differently. They don't just ask, what should I do right now? They ask, if I do this now, what will it create in the future? What will this choice lead to 2, 3 steps from now? A strategy is the art of foresight. It's about seeing beyond the moment. When you make decisions, you have to calculate not just the immediate payoff, but the ripple effect. That's how leaders move. That's how you stay ahead. If you're always reacting, you'll always be chasing. If you're thinking ahead, you're guiding the game. There's a saying, a fool learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from others' mistakes, but a strategist avoids the mistake before it even happens. That's what thinking ahead gives you, the ability to dodge traps before you fall in them. Most people only wake up after the damage is done. The ones who are ahead already prepared for it. Picture a business owner who doesn't think ahead. He makes a little money, he spends it all, and when taxes or emergencies hit, he's broke again. But another business owner with the same starting point saves and builds systems. He thinks about the season when the market slows down. He thinks about what happens if a competitor enters. He's not just focused on this week's money, he's looking 2 years down the line. Which one stays on top? The one with foresight. Here's another story. There was a boxer who had incredible speed and power. In the first few rounds, he always dominated. But after the 5th or 6th round, he'd start slowing down. His opponents, who studied him, planned for this weakness. They knew if they just survived the early rounds, they could win later. He lost fights not because he wasn't skilled, but because he never thought beyond the first few rounds. That's the danger of living only in the moment. You might shine for a while, but you can't last. Thinking 2 moves ahead doesn't mean overthinking or living in fear. It means preparing. It means knowing that every action has consequences and being wise enough to position yourself for the best outcome. If you want to stay on top, you have to stop playing checkers with your life. Checkers is about short-term moves. Chess is about long-term positioning. And those who master the long game always win. The combination of lifelong learning and foresight is deadly. When you're constantly learning, you're feeding your mind new tools. And when you think ahead, you're using those tools strategically. That's when you separate yourself from the crowd. Most people only play today's game. They learn a little, they do a little, and that's it. But when you make learning a habit and foresight a practice, you become impossible to catch. You're not just reacting to trends, you're creating them. There's power in being unpredictable too. When you're thinking 2 moves ahead, you're moving in ways people don't expect. They're playing catch up, trying to figure out your last move while you're already preparing your next. That's how you create advantage. That's how you control the tempo of the game. The truth is, most people lose not because they don't have potential, because they stop learning and they stop planning. They get caught in cycles of doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. But success isn't about repeating yesterday. It's about preparing for tomorrow. Lifelong learning keeps you sharp. Foresight keeps you ahead. Together, they make you untouchable. So you have to ask yourself, what are you learning right now that will elevate you in the next 5 years? What moves are you making today that will pay off tomorrow? If the answer is nothing, then you're playing the wrong game. But if every day you're feeding your mind and positioning your steps, then staying on top won't even be a question. It'll be a guarantee. Silence is a weapon. In a world where everybody wants to show their moves, prove themselves online, and brag about what they're working on, the real power is moving in quiet. Because when you work in silence, nobody can interrupt your process. Nobody can distract your focus. And most importantly, nobody can stop what they don't see coming. People mistake noise for progress. They think posting every step of their grind makes them successful. But the truth is, energy spent showing off is energy taken away from the actual work. The real hustlers understand this. Results speak louder than updates. The best announcement you can make is undeniable success. Until then, you owe yourself the discipline of silence. There's a story about a man who worked in a garage for years, building his invention. His neighbors thought he was wasting his time. They laughed, said he was broke and crazy. But he never explained, never defended himself. He just kept building in silence. Years later, that invention changed industries and made him millions. The same neighbors who laughed were the first ones to say they always knew he'd make it. That's what silence does. It turns doubt into shock. Outworking everyone in silence isn't just about hiding. It's about focus. Noise attracts distractions. If you let everybody in on your process, you also invite their opinions, their doubts, their criticisms. And opinions are heavy. They slow you down if you carry them. But when you keep your grind private, you're free. You're not working to impress anybody. You're working to build something real. The key to outworking everyone is consistency. Most people quit when it gets boring. They want excitement, instant payoff. But greatness is in repetition. It's in doing the small things every single day until they compound into something massive. There's a quote, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." That's the truth. You don't have to be the most talented if you're willing to stay at it longer than the next person. Eventually, consistency will outrun natural ability. Think of a marathon runner. He's not the fastest in the first mile. He's not the loudest in the crowd. But while others sprint and burn out, he keeps a steady pace, step after step, silent, focused, determined. Hours later, he's the one crossing the finish line, while the sprinters are on the sidelines, exhausted. That's the lesson. Quiet consistency beats loud bursts every time. Working in silence also gives you the element of surprise. While everybody else is busy comparing themselves to what they see online, you're building something they can't measure because it's hidden. By the time they realize what you've been working on, it's too late. You're already ahead. It's like chess. The quiet moves, the ones you don't announce, are the ones that set up the checkmate. Now let's move into adaptation, because silence and adaptation go hand in hand. Outworking everyone isn't enough if you can't adjust when the game changes. The world never stays the same. Markets shift, technology evolves, people's needs transform. If you stay rigid, you get left behind. The strongest aren't the ones who survive, it's the ones who adapt the fastest. There's a saying, it's not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. That applies to life, business, relationships, everything. You might be on top today, but if you don't adjust tomorrow, you'll be replaced. That's why adaptability is as important as hard work. You can grind endlessly, but if you're grinding in the wrong direction, you're just getting tired, not better. Think about Blockbuster. They had everything, brand recognition, customers, resources. But when the game shifted to streaming, they refused to adapt. They thought they were too big to fail. Meanwhile, smaller players who adapted quickly became giants. That's the danger of comfort. The moment you think you're untouchable, the ground shifts beneath you. Adaptation also applies personally. Life will hit you with unexpected changes, loss, setbacks, new opportunities, failures you didn't see coming. You can't control those hits, but you can control your response. Do you freeze, complain, and quit? Or do you adjust, pivot, and keep moving? The people who stay standing aren't the ones who never get hit. They're the ones who bend without breaking. There's a story of bamboo. In a storm, when heavy winds blow, most trees resist. They stand rigid, trying to hold their ground, and many of them snap. But bamboo bends with the wind. It sways, it adjusts, it yields. And when the storm passes, it's still standing, while the stronger looking trees lie broken. That's adaptability, knowing when to hold strong, but also when to bend. Adaptability also means being willing to learn new skills. The game you're in today may not be the game you'll need tomorrow. If you're stuck on one way of doing things, you're setting yourself up for failure. The fastest learners are the fastest adapters. They don't get stuck on. This is how it's always been. They ask, what's working now? What's coming next? How can I be ready before it arrives? Outworking everyone in silence and adapting faster than the rest is a deadly combination. One keeps you ahead by effort. The other keeps you ahead by strategy. Effort without adaptation leads to burnout. Adaptation without effort leads to wasted potential. Together, they build unstoppable momentum. Here's another example. There was a fighter who trained harder than anyone else. He put in more hours in the gym, worked longer, lifted heavier. But when his opponent switched styles mid-fight, he couldn't adjust. He was locked into one game plan, and it cost him the victory. Contrast that with another fighter. He worked hard, but he also studied multiple styles, prepared for different outcomes, and trained his mind to stay flexible. When the fight changed, he flowed with it. That's why he won. Hard work gave him stamina. Adaptability gave him victory. Adaptability also demands humility. You have to admit when something isn't working and be willing to pivot. Pride kills progress. Too many people hold on to failing strategies just because they don't want to admit they were wrong. But being wrong isn't failure, staying wrong is. The wise adapt quickly, without ego, because they care more about winning the war than winning the argument. The truth is, both silence and adaptation require self-control. To stay quiet while you grind means resisting the urge to show off. To adapt quickly means resisting the urge to cling to the past. Both demand discipline, patience, and vision. But if you master them, you separate yourself from the masses. Most people are loud but lazy, rigid but blind. You become quiet but consistent, flexible but sharp. And that difference is what keeps you on top when the game keeps changing. The truth is, staying on top isn't about being the strongest or the smartest in the room. It's about being the most consistent, the most strategic, and the most adaptable. If you outthink the crowd, outwork the competition, and outsmart every challenge, success won't just chase you. You'll own it. The question is, are you ready to stay on top not just today, but every single day?